with you, working as a senior data engineer at Collabra. So I have around 10 years of experience working in big data stack for about little bit over than 4 years right now. My background is mostly on, as I said, like big data, like some ETL migrations also, like worked on some projects where I have to migrate the data integration system from on-prem to cloud. And prior to that, worked on some ETL tools like Informatica, PL SQL, and some reporting tools.
Great.
So this is in short about me. Can you introduce about yourself?
Sure. Hi, this is Charan. So I'm from Chennai actually. So I have around 4.5 years of experience. So out of which, with respect to big data, I have close to 3 years. Initially, I started my career with SQLs, and then I got a chance to work on Hadoop projects, on-premise projects. So in my previous company actually. So I got to work with Scoop, Spark, and Hive majorly. And later then, I got a chance to work on cloud, on Databricks and AWS actually. So recently, I've been a part of a project where we are migrating from AWS EMR clusters to entirely to Databricks. So we are migrating everything, every artifacts and workloads from EMR to Databricks.
Okay. So like if I have to ask you what exact tech stacks are you working on? So I know that you said Databricks, Hadoop, Hive. In your current project, like if you have to pick some of the cloud technologies that you're working on, can you explain
Yes.
something about that?
Sure. The cloud, the technologies like here involves EMR, so where we'll have Hive queries and Presto CLI queries, as well as Spark jobs. So majorly we need to analyze these things and convert it to Databricks equivalent of tech stack actually. So whatever there in EMR, we had to convert in. For example, if we have Hive queries or Presto queries, so we need to convert into DB SQL queries. And the Spark jobs, we have to create Databricks notebooks, and we need to schedule them in the Databricks. So majorly everything revolves around Databricks view. So whatever we have in the Hadoop framework, right, which is in EMR, so we have to convert and migrate it to Databricks equivalent of technologies actually.
So like what orchestration tools are you using?
In Databricks, we have inbuilt workflows and jobs schedules, right? So we'll have previously the clients were using third-party schedulers like Airflow, and we need to get rid of those, and then we have to schedule everything in Databricks workflows and jobs entirely. So for that, we have to create either DB SQL queries or PySpark notebooks, and then we will schedule those inside the Databricks as well.
Got it. So okay, got that. So like if I have to ask you about the like regular roles and responsibilities in your project, I know you're doing the migration project where you're converting your queries to Databricks, but just like if you have to give a percentage of the task that you do in everyday basis or like in a weekly basis, like wanted to have an idea how much hands-on coding you do, and other than that, what other responsibilities you have.
Okay. So majorly I work on code part. So where I've been developer most of the part in this project actually. So my primary works revolves around developing Spark notebooks and developing the queries. So major part of my work involves development actually. So apart from this, I also have to get in touch with the stakeholders, like in terms of any doubts or anything, right? Any clarification is needed, I need to get in touch with the clients. And apart from this, I also have regular. I have to touch base regularly with my architects and leads as well. So for any of major technology change or something. So yes, in terms of percentages in my day-to-day activities, so like 70 to 80% involves technical things, and remaining part involves this overall working of the entire project, like the entire setup and everything. So admin challenges and access related everything. So I need to get touch base with all those required people actually.
Got it. Okay, so I got the idea like what you're doing in a like regular basis. So can you explain me about the business case you're trying to solve in your project? So wanted to know about like which domain you're working in, like what kind of data, and like how do you get the data? Like what is the starting point of your project, and then what like who are your users, and what are some of the use cases they are trying to solve, and how you are helping them?
Okay. So basically, the data we deal with is of insurance domain. So the client is US-based insurance provider, where where we will get the data in terms of files and also in terms of tables and databases as well. So majorly we have like 2 to 3 types of data where there is a separate ingestion team, so who takes care of that incoming upstream data, and then we get the data inside. So initially we were getting inside the EMR clusters. So for now we are getting rid of those EMR entirely, and then we'll have the entry point in the Databricks as itself. So from the Databricks, we'll build those Spark notebooks and apply those business logics and everything, which is which depends on the modules to modules in the project. So once we have all those business cases are intact, and we have the job scheduled, and we have the last. Sometimes we save the files. Sometimes we save the output files in terms of files, and sometimes we save in terms of tables as well. So that the downstream team will be like again a team who takes care of another set of analyticals on top of what we built in the Databricks. So we are like second level of data analytics team. So post us, there is another team which takes care of ML operations and everything. And so primarily we are building those tables and the files for downstream team, which will take another level of analytics on top of our outputs actually.
Okay. So in your project, do you follow Medallion architecture?
Yes, we do have a couple of scenarios where I have to get the Medallion architecture in place, to get the pure refined data for the dashboards or tables.
Yeah. So in your project, like mostly like you get the data from bronze layer and you do your ETL analytics work in the silver layer.
Bronze. So first we'll get the raw data, and either in terms of files or tables. So in some cases it will be files where we get all the files in S3 bucket. We need to access those and build raw tables on top of those. That would be our bronze layer. So from there we'll have the business transformation, like getting rid of unwanted data and applying filters on top of those data. So we'll have now refined data in next level of a layer, like which is silver layer. So once we have the data refinement here, so we will build business logic on top of these tables, and then we will have the final set of tables in the gold layer actually. So gold layer will be the final layer, obviously. So this is with respect to files, and also in terms of tables we have the similar structure, only that the data size will differ actually. So in terms of files it will be relatively lesser, but in terms of tables, the data size and the table size counts would be more.
Got it. So like as you said, you receive a couple of files or like the tables like as the incoming source. Have you faced any challenges or in the data, like have you seen skewed data, or is there any data quality checks in your system that you do? If you have done it, can you explain?
So data skewness in the sense after we do all this transformation or at the source level
No,
itself, you
so
mean?
no, so like okay, let me from my question. So initially, like when you ingest the data, when you just receive the data in the raw form, have you noticed any bad data, or like for some reason the
Yes.
the load did not happen properly? So how do you
Yes.
handle that? And the next part of my question is like once you have handled that, so when you are running your Databricks notebook and doing the ETL part, so when the job is running in your Spark clusters, have you noticed skewness of the data?
Got your point. Actually, so the entire pipeline would based on a shell script actually. So where we will trigger the shell script. Either for queries we will trigger DB SQL CLI interface, or in terms of notebooks it will call notebook API in the Databricks environment. So for whatever the tables we are building, we will have the schema already enforced in our shell script itself. So, for example, if we have a file incoming, so the shell script does check the first whether it is matching the schema, the data type, whatever we have defined, and then if it is matching, it goes to the next set of actions actually. So if it is not matching, it will go. I mean, we'll have like another folder where we will push the bad records, and then we'll give those bad records back to the client, and either we'll email it inside a shell script, or we give those bad data back to the client so that they can correct and send back in the next hour. So similarly, once we have all the bad data, so once we have all the good data, our Spark notebooks or queries will run. So here, yes, so there were few cases where data skewness were there, and the first thing would be like checking the DAG. So Spark DAG actually the Databricks. So we had to identify which part of the Spark is getting huge spike or sudden spike in the data movement. So once we get rid of those, the next thing would be like checking whether they are like partitioned correctly, or if there needs to be discussion on whether we need to correct the partitions, or we need to repartition the keys or something. So once that is done, we'll check with the overall infrastructure. So basically we use 5 to 8 worker nodes in the Databricks. So whether that can be any tuned or something. So even that's not the possible solution, or if it is not meeting the clients cost requirements, we have to go with either salting the keys. So salting the partition keys. So where we'll have if it is if it is happening regularly. So if it is like 1 hour, 1 day or 2 days, I mean generally it happens with this weekend data, or if there is any more data in terms of flu or season. Generally it's medical insurance, right? So if it is kind of start of a winter, there definitely there will be a huge spike in the data. So in terms of those, we'll observe for 1 or 2 days. If it is continuing, so we had to apply salting techniques or any of the repartition techniques, so that if
Mhm.
if there are any 2 or 3 tables involved in the join operation, so we'll check whether we can push the table or broadcast the table.
Mhm.
And in some cases we had to repartitions, and some cases we had to broadcast those tables by modifying the broadcast variables or properties set. So yes, these are few cases where we had data spike, and we had to deal with either of the salting or correcting the partitions what we have created.
Got it. Do you know the difference between like repartition and pulleys?
Yes. So repartition is where either increasing or decreasing the partitions. Where coolies is purely meant for decreasing the partitions actually. So the primary difference would be like there will be complete shuffle in terms of repartition, where the data movement would be huge, and where in coolies there will not be any data movement. Just tries to accommodate all the key columns. Then there it's, and then it gives it just reduces the partitions. So
Got
most of the cases we had to deal with repartition, but it comes at its cost. But it will be like uh, it like 1 or 2 times operation. So that once it is set as the next thing, if the data comes in the pipeline, it will automatically go to those partitions.
Can you explain the Spark architecture?
Sure. Okay. So, in with respect to Spark, right? So, obviously, it is a master slave architecture where we have two things. One would be the driver, which would be our master, and another would be executors. So, which would be the slaves for the drivers. So, for every Spark application, we'll have this Spark context, which would be the entry point for the Spark clusters or Spark program. And apart from these Spark things, right? So we'll have cluster manager. So in our case, it's Kubernetes. So in some cases, in my previous project, we've used Yarn also. So yes, as soon as we run the Spark program, the driver will have all the details or entry point to to distribute the task between the executors. And once we have once we start the Spark program, the driver will have the details, and it requests for the required infrastructure required for the code for running those Spark programs. So once it gets the resources in terms of containers, and it will distribute the task to the executors. So executors is where we will have the original Spark codes running. So before this, whatever the Spark job we submit, so the Spark job, the whatever the code we submit, that would be converted into Spark job, which will be taken care by driver. And then once the jobs are distributed to the executors, it will be then reduced into task, which each task will have an worker nodes associated or executors associated. So each executors will have their own number of tasks. So task is where our actual code runs. So basically, Spark follows this architecture. Client request goes to the driver, and the driver requests for the resources. So once the resource is allocated, and then the code goes to the executors, and this is where we have the actual code running in terms of task.
Okay, Charan. So let's move on to some coding questions. I have shared one doc with you. So if you can open that and share your screen. We'll go over one SQL question and one Python question. Okay, so I'll just explain the query in short. So you have a transactions table, and then some of the columns are ID, country, state, amount, and the date of the transaction.
Okay.
You have to give me an output based on the month approved. So if you see you have the transaction date, I just need the uh, month and the year, the country, and then how many were approved, and then how what is the transaction total amount and the approval total amount. So I just need the some of the statistics on the approved amount.
So okay. You have a doubt actually. So do we get this transaction counted here? Uh,
Yeah.
is
Like
it
how many?
with this column? State column approved.
So that's the total transaction of based on the country. So in US you have one approved, two approved, approved count.
Okay, got it.
You got it?
Sorry, got it. So we need only the month column. I mean, month dated. We not get the date. I mean, the date part.
Yeah, only
The month.
So if you
Okay.
see in US, you have two two transactions in the month of December and the year 2018,
Okay.
and the other one is 2019, so it would go in the other section.
Okay. Got it. So first, I'll just have the like rough kind of sketch,
Yeah,
and then I'll try to make query on top of this.
sure. Okay, you can walk me through whatever you have done so far. I think you're almost at the end, or you have done almost.
Yeah. So for for getting the month right, so basically there is a function. So it depends on the query language. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, like there's date trunk or date format. So for now I use date format, where we'll have the format specified and we can extract the whatever part of the timestamp we require. So
Correct.
here I've used date format for the column transaction date, and I'll extract the month in terms of year and the month. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then country would be country because there will be no change in this. And transaction count is like simply count of the entire uh, ID or something, right? So I just used count, and here for approved count, so we need to check the state, right? So either we can go with if condition or case statements. I'm familiar with case actually, so I've gone with
Yeah.
case. So if the state is approved, then I'll mark it as, I mean, it's like a counter. I'll mark it as one or else zero.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the total approved count, right? So after getting the uh, approval status, and I'll sum on those numbers actually,
Got it.
and approved count, and transaction total amount would be the sum of amount. So because we need here, we need the whole amount, right? So I'll just sum the whole amount for the particular ID, and
Mm-hmm.
for the approved total amount, I'll check for the approved count if it is greater than zero, and I'll take that amount and I'll sum this. So and then I'll group by the country and
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah, it's fine. One small correction though, like even though it's not important, like I just wanted to know the logic. So in the case statement at last, you have to put end. At,
okay, sorry.
yeah, it's fine. Like that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the next question, like I'll just give you an array. So which has like some numbers,
Okay.
which has like 2, 3, and then 2, 2, 2, like 3, 4, and 2, 2, 2 again, like this kind. Okay. So want like you can use some other example also. This is just like one of the examples I
Okay.
gave.
Okay.
So wanted to know like what is the which number has been repeated the maximum time in this array.
It's
You
number
can,
2.
so the output would be 2. So like you can assume that the maximum number is always there. So it's not an empty array, or it's not that all the repetition of any particular numbers are same. So you can assume that there is always a particular number which has its max count.
Okay. I'll just draft like pseudo code. So
Yeah,
I
sure.
may not be familiar with the syntax actually.
Yeah, that's fine. I want to know the logic only.
Okay. So basically, we need the number which is like which has occurred like maximum times, right?
Yes, yes.
So if you like, just tell my logic actually.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I'm not getting the syntax. That's why. So
Mhm.
uh, we'll have like three variables: one to find the maximum number, which will be empty at the beginning, and one and two counter variables actually. So to count the number of occurrences. So for how I'll iterate through the entire array from starting to end. So first I'll pick the first element. For example, I'll keep this as a maximum number and assign it to max number, and then I'll count the rest of the arrays. So if the max number is occurring at the first, I'll count it as, and I'll increment it as +1, and I'll check for the next element. So if the next element is the same,
Mhm.
and I'll count the same element. So for example, if I'm finding 2, and the next element is also 2, I'll increment the count 1 as +1. And if, for example, if the next number is 3, and which is not matching the maximum number, right? So I'll now keep it as a count2. So now it will, now I'll increase count2 as a +1. I will increment the count2. So similarly, I'll traverse the whole array. So at the end of the array, I'll compare the count1 and count2. So if the count1 is greater, no, I'll print those count, and if the count2 is greater, I'll print the second count.
Okay. Yeah,
It's correct.
I got it. So like what I was expecting is like do you know hash map or dictionary?
No,
So
actually.
okay, the logic that you told, like it's very similar to that. So like you'll declare a dictionary, like empty dictionary, and then look through the array, and then just check like for each number in the array. If you find that number in the dictionary, then you'll add, like, increment the counter of that number by 1. If not,
Correct.
like if number is not present, you will just assign the counter as 1. So it's just a starting of that number. So like once you'll pass through the array, you'll have the count of that number in the dictionary. So at the end, you'll just and the dictionary is in a key value pair. So the number which has its max occurrence, its value would be the maximum. So you would just see like which is the maximum count in that dictionary. You would return that particular key. So
Okay.
I think I was able to explain.
Yes.
Yeah,
I just have to
it's almost similar to what your approach is. It's a little deviated at the end, but yeah, I got your point. What you're trying to explain. Okay, Charan. I think yeah, we are done. Thank you so much for sharing your work experience. Yeah, it was nice talking to you. Yeah. Thanks, Charan.
Nice talking
Have a
to
good
us.
day.
Thank you.